Faster than writing a letter for 'em, more thoughtful than angry clickbait, able to discuss the world's first superhero and comics film, TV, and more. It's the Supermaniacs. I'm Fatheree. This is Mike. Mike, how are you doing today?
Feeling less faster than a speeding bullet today.
Got off to a little delayed start on our show today, but
Yeah,
that's okay.
apologies, friends. It turns out alarms are my kryptonite, and I was super asleep. But I'm
Well,
super stupid excited to talk about this, which is why I was like, I'm not fucking postponing this.
yeah. Speaking of kryptonite, we have some kryptonite Doc Ock tentacles to deal with because we're talking about the Superman Spider-Man crossover.
I'm
Just
holding up
came
my
out.
copy real quick
Yeah, you
to everyone.
you got the same cover that I went with the Dan Mora cover as
This
well.
is this one. This cover is too beautiful. There's like, I was I forgot. I think it was Mark Wade's Facebook. There are 54 current variants to this one.
Well, I didn't know it was that many. It was like 20 something at one
He showed
point,
off.
but
Yeah, he literally lined them all up because I guess since he's the writer, they sent him all of them.
yeah.
And he was like 54 variants, and I was like, "Fuck you!" But there turns out there's a foil version of this one too. So there's like a shiny version of it.
Hmm.
Because that's the thing. Some of them are like duplicates that are like shiny versions. There's a blank one, of course, and then there's a bunch of them. They kind of announced like a week before they started coming out, like just out of nowhere, like just a giant chunk of them. So it went from like 20 something to like 50 overnight, and I was like, what the fuck?
I should look at the some of the other covers because I kind of felt guilty getting a Dan Mora cover because he's like my favorite Superman artist right now. But then I thought like, well, I should get one that has one of these classic Spider-Man guys doing the cover. And so I thought about like the Mark Bagley cover. It's like, man, like Mark Bagley's done so much Spider-Man work. He deserves the respect, I guess. But I was like, well, I'll just wait until Marvel does their reaction to this. I guess that's in like another month or so.
Yeah, there's a Mark Bagley version of that one that I actually think is pretty
Yeah,
nice.
I'll get the
But
Mark
this
Bagley
is
of that one.
this is George Jimenez is the one who did this art, this specific one. In fact, he does the first story as well. The George Jimenez is and he's the one who does he's doing Batman currently, if I remember correctly. He's one of my favorite working artists
Yeah,
at the moment. Fucking incredible. I don't even know if Dan Mora got a cover, which is weird thinking about that. Because the man has drawn everyone so well that I assumed he would have done a cover. Because if he did, I probably would think about it. And also, there's a cover for the next one that I can't find any information on, other than one random ad. If you've seen that, which is an Ed McGuinness Spider-Man Superman cover. Have you seen that one yet?
the Ed McGuinness one.
Yeah,
No,
there's one place that has an ad for it. It's like exclusive cover, part of her subscription thing or some shit. It's like
oh, you're
40
right.
bucks.
This is Jimenez. Yeah, I thought this was Dan Mora, but what do
No,
I
I've
know?
been I've been heavily following Jorge Jimenez since he's not since he started, but since I first recognized his name. Essentially, that man is way too good looking. It's unfair for the rest of us.
I don't know if I know what he looks like in real life.
That dude is so muscular. When he came out with the cover, he dressed in a Spider-Man costume recently, and he's still in super good shape. And then before that, I saw him in a Superman costume at one point, and I'm just like, this dude is in such good shape. It makes me feel like an asshole. And he uses himself for references. That's how buff he is. Because there's a Batman comic where Batman is wearing a shirt and tie type outfit, and he takes it off and like puts on a Batman mask, but he still has like the shirt on. He uses himself as reference. Like that's how fucking. I was like, damn, dude. Like that's fucking incredible. And he is again one of the best working artists in DC. Like period. The man can draw. Him and Dan Moore are my two favorites, like hands down. Like there's nobody else who's doing it better, in my opinion, on DC, especially DC's end. Because Marvel, I feel like has been like having issues here and there with keeping artists, but DC has been having a hell of a job keeping them. Because oh my goodness, if I got Dan Moore to write or right, if I got George Jimenez or Dan Moore to draw something Spider-Man related outside of this, I would be like in heaven because those two of them can draw them very well. And then who else is the other one here? Because there's and then Raphael Sandoval has the guy who draws Absolute Superman. He has the cover that looks like the original Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, and he drew one of the stories in here.
I
The,
almost bought that one because I was like, well, that one has like it's poetry, it rhymes. I want to have both of them, but I was like, no, I really want this original cover. I might still get that one. I bet you comic book shops will have open for it.
what was that? Your mic cut out a little bit there.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think that's better.
Right. I was just gonna say, I bet you the comic shops still have the majority of those covers.
Yeah, I mean, I went by our local shop, Rogues Gallery, Wednesday morning, and they had a couple of covers they had already sold out of, like, instantly within, like, the first couple hours of being
Oh,
open.
really?
But uh,
Do you know which ones they were?
I don't, but it was it was nice to see them all, like, the ones that were still there laid out on the shelves, though. Uh, it
Yeah, this
definitely
one definitely. Like I was hoping it would sell out in places.
Yeah, I think it's gonna draw a lot of attention to itself. So I'm curious how it compares to Deadpool and Batman, because I feel like this is a big year for Spider-Man and Superman, just in general, just beyond the comics. I feel like after the big Superman movie last year, and then a new Tom Holland Spider-Man movie this year, I feel like people are just gonna be more thinking about them a little bit more than like Deadpool and Batman a few months ago.
Well, the other thing is that Batman and Deadpool and Batman are the weirdest set of heroes to ever add together. So their stories were already kind of insane to begin with, the idea of them. Whereas Superman and Spider-Man, it's like, it's a chocolate peanut butter situation for a lot of people. Like, this is just two really good things mixed together. Ironically enough, I don't like peanut butter but I don't. There's no other metaphor I can think of.
I mean, I love me some chocolate and peanut butter together, so I'll accept the metaphor, but
I guess I'll go with the Twix, the caramel chocolate thing.
that's
But like either
a
way,
good combination too. But yeah, they're
yeah,
similar flavors. If you like Spider-Man, you probably like Superman. You just might not know it yet, and vice versa. They have enough overlap, but also enough differences that it's interesting to pit them together in a story like this.
and yeah, and they there was a lot of stories in here. I have a few issues with a lot of these stories. But I won't explain why until we get to those because we want to talk about the main story before we get to any of that.
Yeah, so let's talk about the main story. Mark Waid, he spent a lot of time writing at both Marvel and DC, writes this story with the beautiful Jorge Jimenez artwork.
Yeah, it's a wonderful little story called Truth, Justice, and Great Responsibility. What I love about this comic is it's another one like the original comic where it just decides the worlds are the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like right away. There's no moment where Dr. Octopus is working and Brainiac shows up as like in an interdimensional portal being like, "Whoa, you see the Spider-Verse." Like there's no Spider-Verse fucking moment type thing, if that makes sense. And I thought that was nice because it's been so long since I've read one of these crossover type things where the Spider-Verse isn't sort of some use of the explanation.
Yeah, it is nice because that was the thing I was complaining about last week when we were talking about the original Spidey Soups crossover, Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man #1. But that was the refreshing thing about that. Is like, oh, this crossover that doesn't have to be about our two universes are colliding, and maybe only one universe will survive, or just like we've done that story so many fucking times.
Yeah, and I was very happy that, especially nowadays, because back then this was a fresh thing, but nowadays every crossover is some weird universal explosion, except for some of them. Some of them have been smart about it, and it's always funny when the ones that decide to do it. Like for instance, The Ninja Turtles Naruto one does that. It just pretends it's all the same universe, and you're just sitting there going, I guess, because that one makes no sense to me either way. Whereas you'll read another one, then it's like the Godzilla Power Rangers one. So well, an interdimensional Rita fought the Power Rangers, and an interdimensional portal appeared, and they were transported to the world of Godzilla or some shit. I'm like, oh, honestly, it would make more sense if you just made those two the same. And then it's weird when they don't make it the same. And this is one where it's perfect. You'd never, when you're reading it, you never question the fact that it's like perfect.
Yeah.
They feel like they've known each other for years right off the gate, and it's a wonderful feeling.
And some people who are, sticklers for the multiverse and what universe does every story take place on, in the old school days when they would occasionally do these crossover stories, and sometimes they would do like the approach of like, oh yeah, these two people, they just cohabitate the same Earth, the same universe, the same continuity, and it's always been like that. We can just assume this is on the crossover Earth. That was a term that people have thrown around in years past. But there's like a crossover Earth where just the Marvel and DC people all coexist, and just these stories can all take place there.
And I'm fine with that because Peter's not even in his current status quo in this comic. He's not. He still works for the Bugle. He's still a photographer. He's not like. It's clear that at any point he never brings up Parker Industries. He never brings up what he's currently doing or anything that's happened in the past like year. There's never a point where Peter is like, well, with that whole Rabin thing, it's like, no, it never. It's just like the only time it kind of comes up is in is one of the backstory ones, but we'll get to that one when we get to it. But yeah, Spider-Man is just, he's in his popular status quo, is what.
Yeah. If you haven't been keeping up with Spider-Man comics the last few years, it doesn't matter, because it's just the things that that's all that's going on.
It's the same with Lois as well. Clark and Lois are kind of like, Clark has always been in that status quo. He's like, I'm Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for the Daily Planet. But Lois has been the editor-in-chief for like, what, 3 years?
Right.
Years,
She's just a normal reporter here.
Yeah, and MJ is still a model, which hasn't happened in a very long time.
Yeah, I was scratching my head about that. I was like, well, I don't really know what's going on with Mary Jane right now. Maybe she's a model again. I don't know. I'm not going to question it.
She's fucking Venom now. And I don't mean she's fucking Venom. I mean she's literally Venom.
Why not both?
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if symbiosis is considered fucking type of thing. But no, yeah, and the story starts off very straightforward, which is that Doc Ock is pissed off that nobody knows that Doc Ock is the best. It's another Doc Ock part of the storyline. But instead of teaming up with Lex Luthor this time, Brainiac appears, being like, "Hey, bro, I hear you're smart. I want to help you," and it doesn't really tell you what his plan is yet. And it cuts, of course, from there.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because Doc Ock takes over his tentacles. It's like Doc Ock freaks out from Brainiac doing that. And it shows how much smarter how much smarter Brainiac is. And it's clear that he's already taking advantage of Doc Ock.
Brainiac hacks Doc Ock in his arms, right when he's thinking, like, why don't I have like the same level of scientific recognition that Dr. Will Magnus gets or Bruce Banner gets. So
my favorite, he's basically talking to Siri while he's doing this.
Yeah, he's talking to his AI, and then he's like, artificial intelligence my ass, when it couldn't answer his question, right?
Which is hilarious that Brainiac is the one who appears. It turns out that Doc Ock likes to make fan art of Spider-Man kissing people. It's a great way of just introducing right away like what the stakes are. Doc Ock, Brainiac, it's already like, that's already kind of an interesting combination. I think it's interesting they decided to go with Doc Ock again. If it was me, I maybe would have considered a different villain possibly, but it still works. Don't get me wrong. It's just that like maybe I would have gone with like a goblin or something. But I don't know if that would have worked as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you would think you'd want to get like one of the big heavy hitters, which with Spider-Man is normally either going to be, Green Goblin, Doc Ock, or Venom, depending on what era you're talking about.
Yeah, because Lex isn't part of this crossover at all.
Right. I guess they mention him in one of the other ones, but yeah,
Yeah,
this
he's mentioned in passing type of thing because and it's funny because he's not mentioned as one of the smartest people from the AI either, which is kind
that's
of funny.
true. Uh, yeah, but instead, I guess we get Peter and Clark doing some investigative journalism together at Star Labs in Metropolis. So they're in Clark's neck of the woods investigating a crime scene at Star Lab.
I had a hard time figuring out if we were supposed to know this doctor because she's drawn in such a specific way that I kept feeling like the comic was pretending we were supposed to know who she was.
Right, the redhead scientist lady, Dr. Clyburn, right?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know who you are, Clyburn. I have zero recollection of somebody named Clyburn. And I feel like I'm supposed to know who Clyburn is because she's drawn so lovingly, type of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure though.
It feels like she's supposed to be, but like maybe they decided not to. But it's just very interesting that like the way she's drawn.
That's a new character Mark Wade had come up with for some story that's not out yet, maybe.
No, I found her. She is
Oh,
named Janet Clyburn. She was made in 1950, and she is director of Star Labs, which I'm have zero recollection of you.
she doesn't show up very often for the director, but
Oh, she was a. Oh, okay. Yeah, she was the original director. Was a criminal, and she became the successor to Star Labs, and she was around for a while. She was around. She was really just during the Earth One era, and then following the events of Crisis, she was still around, but she hasn't really been used that often since.
it's a very Mark Wade cut to go with. Here's the
And yeah,
original.
this is her original design as well. That's why she like literally to the like when you find her Wikipedia, she's wearing this exact outfit.
Yeah, that's
Not
Mark
Wikipedia,
Wade
but
and
toDC database thing.
his old school Silver Age appreciation, I guess.
I'm guessing she was in New 52 because it says up to 2011, and that's like okay. I vaguely remember this woman, but that's because she doesn't dress like the 1950s anymore. So that's why I didn't recognize her. That's hilarious.
But she's been doing experiments with fast neutrons, right? Trying to create faster Wi-Fi that can't be blocked. And it looks like that something was stolen by Doc Ock and his tentacles. And Dr. Clyburn also reveals that they were experimenting with kryptonite for their fast neutron Wi-Fi. So basically, Peter and Clark are worried that Doc Ock is running around with kryptonite Wi-Fi.
Yeah, what made it? Yeah, it's crazy that they were like, well, you like everyone else does this. What made it so special that you specifically were robbed? Because because Star Labs isn't exactly fucking Walmart. Like it's not something you can just rob without a superhero immediately showing up, type of thing, and having high end security. Like there's other it's a Wi-Fi fucking thing. Like it's like why everyone else is doing it, so it turning out to be a kryptonite infused Wi-Fi is an interesting thing to play with either way, especially in Metropolis of all places. Like yeah, let's make deadly Wi-Fi. That sounds like a great idea. Even without what happens, that still sounds like a dangerous thing to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like if you're gonna work on that, don't do it in Metropolis, the city that the city that Superman's always in. Like, go somewhere
Yeah.
else.
Like, also, doesn't that thing give Lex cancer? Like, I don't want to work with cancer Wi-Fi. Like, Wi-Fi is already iffy to some people. Then you decide to go, yeah, we decided to make cancer way Wi-Fi. You're like, no, don't do that. What is wrong with you?
But yeah, and Doc Ock goes up to space and hangs out with Brainiac in the Skull spaceship while Superman and Spider-Man deal with Metropolis that guess not only is like Superman being weakened by the kryptonite Wi-Fi in the air, but it's like getting in people's brains and making them they're like hacked by Brainiac. They're having
Well,
weird binary reactions.
what's interesting is why Brainiac's doing it, and so Superman, and Spider-Man immediately suit up, which is this wonderful sequence. That's really cool. But yeah, Brainiac says he's been poisoned, which is interesting. He's been given a virus at a planet he fucked up on his way out, and they gave him this fucked up virus. And the only way to get it out, for some reason, this is hilarious to me, is that he's like, I need a way of getting rid of it, but I don't have any, RAM. The price of RAM is up. I don't have any storage space or whatever. Is basically what he's saying, and he's like, I have an idea of where to put it. I'm going to put it in people's brains, because this is a real thing that people don't know, is that people's brains have enough information that it can space, essentially, that you can store anything. It's the reason why we're able to learn things. It's the reason we're able to do specific things. It's also the plot of Johnny Mnemonic. But so he basically decides to do Johnny Mnemonic to people, except that it's kind of the way Johnny Mnemonic is as well, which is that you can overload a person's brain if you forcefully put a bunch of information in. It happens in every movie when somebody's like, I want the universe's knowledge, and they become comatose because of it. And so Doc Ock builds him a device using the Wi-Fi thing, because that's why they needed the Wi-Fi, the fast neutrons to begin with, so it could go through things to make a great net. And it also would let people know that, hey, Doc Ock is so smart, he did this to you, is the idea, which is an insane thing to do, in my opinion.
It is, but this story, it's very like, okay, we only have like a few pages to tell it, so Doc
Yeah.
Ock is just gonna get on board very quickly. Then
But
we can have fun.
he also is going to go on the trip with Brainiac from then on, which I
Yeah.
don't think. I don't. How long do you think Brainiac would have been able to deal with that? In my opinion, I don't think it would have lasted long. But
Well,
I digress.
Doc Ock
And
was
then-
happy to get off Earth.
Oh, which honestly, fair. Those people probably get, if it's a DC Marvel universe, that place must be fucked at all times.
Oh yeah,
Um,
nonstop.
And then so they turn it on, but again, as you mentioned, why would you build this in Metropolis? It causes Superman to be weakened, which is a fun way of like trying to level the playing field for some things. But the the side effect outside of kryptonite, of course, is that this information is still being pumped into everybody within this vicinity's brains, which is the explanation for why the world isn't like immediately in danger per se, but it's still like the entirety of Metropolis is in danger. And so what I found interesting was that Spider-Man is also having this happen to him, but he's so smart, he's able to just essentially think about other things to keep his brain from trying to like be forcefully given this information. And I'm guessing it's spider sense related too, since he's enhanced by a spider. It must have somehow enhanced his mind capacity or something. There's no real explanation for why Peter's able to resist it better than everybody else. But this thing is actually kind of terrifying. Is that basically like all the normal citizens are just like having aneurysms in the middle of the road. They're having medical emergencies and yelling out binary. I was tempted to find out what the binary code is, but I don't think Wade is nerdy enough to make an actual like binary translation for these, if that makes sense. Because I bet you that's not the case. I could probably Google it just in case, but there's a lot of it, so it would take a while. But people are crashing their cars, people are falling in the streets, people are about to get hit by the cars that are crashing. It's legit horrifying. And Superman's weakened, and Spider-Man's having just as much trouble as Superman is without slowly dying with his body, just his brain, which is wild.
But they spend a lot of time saving people, which I always think is an important part of any superhero story. You have to take time to show the heroes saving the civilians.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like, there's a lot of really great sequences of them saving everyone, and it's just so interesting that they're doing that. So I googled I found a translator, and yeah, it's all gibberish.
Yeah, I didn't think the binary would. It takes a long time to like spell anything out with
Well,
ones and zeros, but
yeah, a lot of the times, yeah, and I figured it'd be help or something, but it's all information, so it doesn't really matter. And there's just these wonderful sequences of them, like saving everybody, as well as like how dangerous it is because Spider-Man is dealing with it as well, and all these like, and there's like the scene that's clearly Lois, I think, typing because she's writing a story, and then her story turns into 0001s and stuff like that. Um, and they go to fucking town saving the day. Like there's a bomb squad that's fucked up in the middle of doing a bomb thing. There's somebody was almost killed by a train, and then this fire one I think is my favorite part, of course, because Superman's weakened and he's like, well, you're not going in there like that. And he's like, well, I have to. I'm fucking Superman, and so I guess the webs are still fire resistant enough if you put enough of them on.
yeah, yeah. So he's like coated in spider webs, like a mummy, going into the flaming building to rescue people. But it was cool to show them collaborating and working together. Or like with the truck that was going to run over a lot of bystanders on the road, and they just like one word to each other. But Spider-Man says bystanders, and Superman says truck, and then Peter swings in and grabs everyone out of the way, and Superman just slams into the truck and stops it in its tracks. And yeah, they work together well. They're both veteran superheroes at this point in their careers. They know how to do this. This ain't their first rodeo.
Yeah, this feels more like a sequel to
Yeah,
the original crossover more than anything else
because they know
of
each
how
other.
they work together. And it feels like they've been through this for quite some time. And I appreciate the fact that they're like, look, this is a symptom that we're doing. It's not the cause. And the fucked up thing eventually is that it's like, look, no matter how many of these people we save, a lot of them are dying because they're having seizures and their bodies just can't take it. And I like the way George Jimenez draws the fact that Superman's slowly succumbing to kryptonite poisoning as well
Yeah,
in
with like
in these shots.
the panel that has the bloody knuckles and like the green veins showing up on his face. This is kind of like a subtle little touch, but
And then they do something that I think is it's funny. This is such a smart thing to do is that they go to where they're going to go normally, which is Superman's going to go to space to fight Brainiac, and Spider-Man's going to do the street level thing, which is fight Doc Ock in the street. But what I love about it is how smart it was writing wise to be like, I'm not there, the other
yeah,
person's there, and I'm
this
like, it's such a simple story thing that I legitimately didn't expect it.
but the switcheroo, yeah, it is cool because you're right. For one, it's unexpected. You read the story, and like when they split up, Superman is like, "Hey, I can see Brainiac's ship up in space. I'm gonna fly straight up." He literally says, "Up, up, and away." Go up there, deal with Brainiac. You deal with Doc Ock at the broadcast device down here on the city level. And so you think like, okay, it's going to be a standard Superman versus Brainiac fight in space and a standard Spidey versus Doc Ock fight in the city. And then, yeah, when Superman breaks through the skull ship, it's screaming Brainiac, but instead he's greeted by Doc Ock armed with kryptonite arms, kryptonite tentacles.
And it's wonderful. It's this little fight. What I love about this fight is it shows how smart Spider-Man is with his fight with Doc Ock, and how Brainiac is not expecting to. He doesn't know how to fight Spider-Man. It's not something he knows how to do. Like he's blasting at him the way he would the way he would Superman, and talking about how awesome he is and sort of thing. And Spider-Man is still completely out of his league because Brainiac is used to fighting Superman. So anytime Spider-Man is hit, it's like he's getting hit by a freight truck type of thing. While meanwhile, Superman does what he does best. Die to kryptonite. I'm just kidding. No, what he does best is that he is so good at connecting with whoever he's fighting, even if it's like somebody he hates type of thing. Even with Lex, he's like he gets down to the core personally. Where Clark is just like, man, like people are dying. Why are you doing this? And he just straight up says, like, you you're an intelligent man. And I love what he says. He's like, Clark Kent wrote an article years ago called "You Brilliant, Another Einstein." And I love that because because it's like Clark is remembering what he wrote, but also he's like, that shows that it shows to the reader, not to Octavius. It shows to the reader these were Clark's thoughts on Octavius before he became Dr. Octopus. Like, he believed that Dr. Octopus was going to be, one of the greatest minds of our time until before, he became an octopus man, essentially. And it's really sweet because Doc Ock is like, you remember that? Like,
Yeah,
that's all he wanted.
he's like crying. He's like, oh my god, someone out there realized how smart and special I am. Uh, it also, I like they took the time to explain that his kryptonite tentacles, it was just like a synthetic kryptonite that he had to whip up real quick. So that's why he doesn't just beat Superman to death immediately. Superman's able to fight him and talk some sense into him.
Yeah,
So,
it's wonderful, and it also lets him punch Doc Ock because he actually punches Doc Ock in the
yeah.
face. Because otherwise, Doc Ock's head would have exploded. And then Brainiac realizes, he's like, okay, well, this guy's a little harder than I can fight Spider-Man wise, and he's like, I can calculate everything, but Spider-Man is just like, nope, my spider sense is so good that you can't fucking touch me. And so Brainiac does something that's pretty obvious when hindsight, which is he destroys the foundation of the building enough that it won't affect the machine that's inside of it, just enough to be like the other half of the building, essentially.
But yeah, he collapses part of the building down on Peter. He's trying to bury him under rubble, as a lot of people have tried to do in the past.
I think it's interesting that Brainiac goes based on the rules he had in like the 2000s era, where he was like swapping brains into bodies. So he didn't so this isn't like his specific body. This is just a body. It never really says where he got this body as well, because it doesn't seem to be a robot. It's like flesh colored and stuff.
Right, but he just like checks out of it. He's like transferring to the Beetlejuice outpost, and then like the body just collapses, like it dropped dead when his consciousness beamed out of it.
It's funny that when he does this, it just knocks Doc Ock the fuck out, because it turns out when he did this, it deactivated the ship somehow.
Oh yeah, yeah. The ship's coming down,
and it shakes so violently that Doc Ock is knocked out. I thought that was a little disappointing, but I thought it was almost hilarious that Doc Ock was taken out by that. And then basically Mark Waid decides to fuse two things together, which is an exciting Superman rescue moment and an old school fucking if this be my destiny Spider-Man moment, which is that Spider-Man's covered in rubble. He's out of web fluid, so he can't turn off the machine by yanking it really hard.
Yep.
And his other arm is like trapped in a way that he can't just refill his web fluid and be done with it. And so he has to force himself to lift up this sheer amount of rubble to help Superman stop a gigantic ship, because this is a ship this big can cause like an extension level thing because of essentially because of how big it is. Because a lot of people this is the reason people are scared of meteors hitting the Earth, because it doesn't take a meteor that large to really wipe out a large area, type of thing. And that's Brainiac's ship is massive, and so it's this wonderful moment of Superman being like, I believe in you, and Peter being like, I can do this, and this awesome shot that's very similar to the If This Be My Destiny of Peter lifting it. Yeah, you guys can see that. It's a wonderful shot. The two of them just fucking struggling.
It's like Superman is coaching Spider-Man through it. You know, he literally says like, "I believe in you." And it's like, yeah, if you hear like Superman saying that, like that's gonna give you a little energy boost.
It's a hell of an ego boost, and everybody on Twitter was like, "No, this would work on me too," type of thing. And or not Twitter, but Threads. I use Threads nowadays, Threads and Blue Sky. And the only thing that made me laugh out loud though was the fact that the second it turns off, Superman immediately stops the ship.
Yeah, and then Superman gets the glory. He gets to like bask in the glory.
Like literally basks in the sun, and it's another wonderful shot, which I remember seeing the art of before they drew it, and I didn't know what it was about because he hadn't drawn the Spider-Man stuff over it yet. So it was just this shot of him
Hmm.
holding something, and it's this wonderful, beautiful, gorgeous shot of Superman holding up Brainiac's ship, and Peter just laying there fucked up.
But yeah,
And
that's
then
that's very much like how they end up at the end of their stories, respectively.
yeah, and so it's wonderful because it's a very Spider-Man ending to a story, and it's a very Superman ending to a story. And it cuts to them arresting Doc Ock. Brainiac essentially gets out scot-free, in my opinion. He like I'm sure his plans are foiled, but he's probably not mind poisoned anymore. And Peter pays. Peter sells his picture specifically to the planet instead of the
Hmm.
Bugle. This is how you know that the status quo is the original popular one is that Perry White is still the chief instead of the mayor now. And he's paid wonderfully for it. And I find it interesting as well that this sort of thing kind of happens randomly at the end, which is that Clark is just surprised that Peter's still selling his pictures to Jameson all this time, and he's actually like bummed out by it. He's like he talks shit about you all the time.
Yeah, he's like, why would you do that? Like, I wouldn't want to work for that guy.
That's like if I worked for the Daily Planet and they were just like, "Isn't Superman the fucking worst?" And it'd be like, "Why would I be doing this?"
I,
It's Clark's thought process.
I liked Peter's explanation, though. I'll let you explain it, but I liked what he replied to Clark with.
Yeah, which is that the first is that the only person it hurts is me, um, and that that's also sometimes is the truth is what he's saying. Um, and second, he's like the punchline is that Jameson doesn't know that he's paying Spider-Man to go to college, or at any point the gag in his opinion is that Jameson doesn't know he's paying Spider-Man to talk shit about Spider-Man, which is
Yeah, but
kind of hilarious.
he also paid Spider-Man's way through college by buying all those pictures from Peter Parker,
Does that
which
mean he graduated in this universe? In my
I
opinion, I think it does. In a universe where Superman exists, he probably doesn't have to deal with that much shit
oh yeah, yeah, he's had a little bit of an easier career.
because the rest of the DC universe probably exists at the same time. He's probably like, "Oh my god, the lizard's on the loose. What am I gonna? Oh, Animal Man dealt with him." Like, there's probably much
But
more like backup that he normally would get.
he still got some degrees in the 616 at one point. Like
Sort of.
even
It's
in the
the whole
old like
thing.
Straczynski days when he was like teaching high school classes, it's like, well, you still have to have some degree to get that job.
Yeah, it's just he didn't have he didn't have like things that scientists normally get type of thing until
Yeah.
until a bunch of other stuff happened, and then he was accused of plagiarism. But that's a whole thing. And so I love the ending of the story, which is that the two of them are just like, it's always nice being in a city that actually likes you, and the fact that he's like, the fact that my aunt has a crush on you, and he's like, don't tell Lois that. And I love this
Yeah.
whole thing where it's like he's like, "Hey, since I'm in town, do you want to like give me a tour?" And I love that he's like, "Did you want to start at the Superman Museum?" He's like, "Come on, dude." And it's a sweet little ending, and I love that George Jimenez. He also made a version of the back cover of the original comic.
Yeah, that nice splash page that Ross Andrew drew in the 70s of Spidey and Soups together.
I also love that he wrote after Ross Andrew in the signature as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Of his name.
gives the OG artist cred, so
I
very
would own
cool,
a
very classy.
I would own a print of this in my home so fast it would make people's heads spin.
But yeah, and then we have a few other like little short stories. Uh,
So there's a lot of short stories in here. There's one, two, three, four, five, six. There's seven of them, and only three of them I found. Or two of them, or actually only two of them I didn't like all that much, and one of them I thought could have had a little more work to it.
well, I think the first one was my least favorite. I don't think I loved any of them, but I didn't really mind any other than the first one too much. But yeah, they're not really stories. They're more just like here's like a little scene out of a
Yeah,
larger story.
one of them I would consider an actual full story, which is the final one. But and so what it is that the first one is a Lois. This is a Tom King one by Jim Lee, or drawn by Jim Lee. It's a Lois and Peter. Sorry, Lois and MJ are on a bridge that's being under attack by a super powered Sentinel that's
Hmm.
like designed specifically to be like harder to destroy because you have to only do and they explain eventually that you have to do specific things. The art on this is gorgeous because Jim Lee's very good at this sort of thing, and he didn't have to draw something super long, if that makes sense. Because for a lot of people who know this, Jim Lee is really bad at hiatuses. He's really bad at it.
Yeah, this was just a few pages that he probably had a lot of time to work on. So
This Spider-Man's not bad. It's the eyes that I have some trouble with. In some shots, it does the eyes are a little off, but Superman, of course, is wonderful. He knows he's been drawing Superman for so long that there are statues of it, there are figures of it, there are posters of it. There is a storyline that he drew that's notorious for being gorgeous, but one of the worst things I've ever read. But I digress. But it's mostly about MJ and Lois talking about comparing their lives, being like, "Have you ever died?" Like, well, which day are you talking about, or whatever. And it's like, have you ever dealt with the multiverse? I'm like, well, fucking forget about it. The Spider-Verse, fucking
yeah,
every MG I meet tells me my catchphrase to me, and I'm kind of annoyed by that. And I was just
it
like,
was like that Tom King thing of like, let me tell you why this character is actually stupid and you're dumb for liking them. Like Mary Jane just said, "Face it, Tiger, you hit the jackpot one time," and everyone likes her, and they really shouldn't. This is like Tom King just loves to like tear down superheroes or superhero adjacent characters. It seems.
he also likes just bringing up the sheer amount of trauma these people go through. But it makes sense in their instance because they're playing around with the fact that hey, we both love red and blue clad people. Again, this is another status quo type thing, and like and they're all great, but I want my life. My life's going well. I do love that Superman Spider-Man try to do a fastball special, and it does absolutely jack shit.
Yeah, because it's a big X-Men fight too. Like we see Cyclops, well, not Cyclops, but we see Superman try a Cyclops like attack with his heat
Yeah,
vision, like bouncing off of the Sentinel. So it very much is like Jim Lee trying to draw some X-Men stuff, the fastball special, and he draws a great Gambit.
yeah, and so the twist of the matter is that they're like while they're having this conversation, they're like, "Why is a Sentinel here? Spider-Man's not a mutant, and Superman's not a mutant. So who the fuck is it looking for?" And it cuts to a man searching through cars, being like, Why can't I find fucking anything in these cars?" And you're wondering it's funny because it almost looks like he's trying to rob these cars, but in reality, and then he says something French, and then I love this shot of him being like, "Hey, I'm like that." Mary Jane talks to him in French because it turns out she knows French. I think it's MJ because she says she recognizes that his accent is
No,
Cajun.
I thought it was Lois who caught that, but you might be right.
No, because yeah, the coloring is who's saying what, and so Mary Jane's
Right.
is more in this like golden look, and
Right,
then
yeah. So yeah,
hers
Mary Jane picked up on the Cajun accent.
because I had to go
Yeah.
back to be sure, and then when I saw I have a deadline under like it's kind of like a pinkish
Right.
text box is Lois, and so Lois has a deck of cards because it's a guard at Strikers Island. She just plays them, and Gambit explains he's like, "Yeah, I need a deck of cards because this specific Sentinel is a specific class that you have to hit it. What was it? You have
You
to
have to hit like the all the weak points at the same time to blow it up.
yeah, a dozen areas simultaneously, and so he uses his kinetic energy, of course, because that's how his powers work, and he does this wonderful shot of him like throwing all the cards because it's Jim Lee's been drawing the X-Men for fucking
Yeah,
years.
he really wanted to draw Gambit again. It's been a hot minute. So
And it's his like most famous like outfit, his 90s, his
yeah,
97 or his X-Men 90s outfit. And he
it
destroys it.
it's the Jim Lee design. So
Yeah, it's Jim Lee's like wonderful Gambit design. He's the one who saves the day. Technically, it's just Spider-Man, Superman just keep damaging to minimum, and it's this little sweet moment of them just being like, yeah, you know, like we technically saved the day because they helped Gambit, and so they're like rubbing it in their face.
But it implies like this kind of thing happens a lot. Like it's just like, oh, like these dumb boys, they wouldn't get anything done without us, and good thing we're here to guide them around and steer them. And hey, we got to watch the really hot guy Gambit blow up the robot. So
What I did love is that Lois and Mary Jane aren't affected by anything. There's like things are exploding around them, and they're just walking and talking, like they're gossiping as shit is exploding. And then it ends, yeah, like I said, it ends with, as you mentioned, like this happens all the time, and a funny last gag of Gambit basically saying that's all, folks, except in a very Cajun way, is that's all les amis or some shit like that. I don't know how to say it. I'm not Cajun. And
lay me, I think. My
yeah,
friends.
then then came one of the weirder stories, in my opinion, because of how it starts.
Okay, so I like seeing I'm a Superboy Prime fan in general, and I like that he's getting a lot of use right now in the main DC comics. But yeah,
I
let's
like
talk
him
about the
too, but I'll explain why I wasn't a fan in a little bit per se. But
Pages is the name of the story
yeah,
by Priest and Daniel Sampry.
sorry about that. This one is this one I both kind of like, and but again I'll explain why I don't like. I'm not 100% in it. But the reason it's weird right away is he walks in Superboy Prime in his underwear, talking to a cloth suit.
But it's like Superboy Prime he had tried it on, like he had worn the suit.
Which I get. I absolutely understand why he tried that, and and then I like that. It's really the only thing I thought was kind of weird is that Spider-Man ends up wearing it right after. You just saw a man broke into his house, wear one of his suits, and then he wears it. Um, but I love that Superboy Prime. It turns out Superboy Prime is in fact all of us outside of the homicidal urges, which is that he's a fan of both things. He's been reading Marvel and DC for a very long time, so he starts bringing up Super Secret Wars, Amazing Spider-Man 263 when he kind of by then he sort of doesn't have it anymore. First time at least, not the second time. And then um, he's also mentioning like his own stuff where he's like, the world. He's like straight up telling Spider-Man stuff that Deadpool would normally tell Spider-Man. Like we're not real, like we're comic books. And he's like, you are clearly a psychopath with superpowers, so this is weird.
This has got to be like the real Superboy Prime, though, right? Because there's only one Superboy Prime, so
Yeah, he doesn't, as far as I know, there's never been an alternate. Actually, no, that's not entirely true. There's only one time I've ever heard of an alternate Superboy Prime, and it was hinted it was him from the future. It was a Legion of Superheroes story where there was this great like villain that was like legendarily villainy, and then when you see him, you're like, well, that's clearly Superboy Prime from the future, but it never really tells you that's what he is, type of thing. Like overall, like it's never really like fully confirmed, but it's clear that it's what he's supposed to be because he's got like a beard and shit. So. But it's always him. There's never been an alternate Superboy Prime outside of that, because I think even in What Ifs they don't really bring him up or that often in Elseworlds when it comes to those storylines.
yeah. Uh, but he has become the prisoner of the High Evolutionary, or at least a version of him in the multiverse.
Yeah, he punched. They're using the fact that he's able to punch through dimensional walls, but they do something that I don't really feel like he did that often, which is that he can go through different dimensions, but the way that Gwenpool does, where you can do like panels and stuff instead of just like normal universe stuff, which I found really interesting. Because there's a lot of great like old comics in the background. There's the one where Spider-Man meets. He used to be like one of Doc Ock's. He used to be like, I forget his name, but he's this guy who used to be like a Doc Ock fan who then became like a Spider-Man fan. And then there's the Infinite Crisis in the background as well, which kind of shows where Superboy Prime's brain is.
Right, and a bit of his history, and just remind the reader about his history. But yeah, this encounter Spider-Man is also telling him like, okay, yeah, I understand your past. You've been one of those guys who kind of like went back and forth between being a good guy or a bad guy. Uh,
Yeah, and so it turns out the reason Superboy Prime went to Spider-Man, outside of being a Spider-Man fan, of course, which is that he's like, and this is the reason he was talking to the black suit, was he's like, I needed a replacement for me being captured, and the symbiote would have been an easy way of giving him something without feeling guilty about it, because the symbiote, like sure, the symbiote's alive, but in his brain it's not as like alive as another person, but he still tries to trade his life for Spider-Man's, which again is Superboy Prime is an imperfect hero, because Superboy Prime has since been redeemed as
right.
as a
He's
person,
had a recent redemption.
and so he's kind of like, it's Spider-Man still tries to fight him, and then Superboy Prime comes back to save him. My only issue with this, again, this is my issue with this and the next storyline, which is that my problem is they end too quickly. There's no
they it's like the beginning of a story, and then we don't get to see the conclusion.
exactly. I was so blue balled by this one and the next one.
They need to follow these up in the next crossover comic they do, and the Marvel one that comes out in a month. But I don't think that's the plan.
That's, as far as I know, that's not the plan, because we know who's writing some of
Right,
this
right.
stuff.
And I'm not as excited about those creators, to be honest. Like
No,
I
I'm
don't
not either.
like the Bendis one. Like I don't know if that's gonna be for me, but
Yeah, and so I'm like, why stop doing, like, don't do this to me? And then the next one does the same thing, which the next one I really wish I loved more. I like it a lot because it has my favorite alternate Spider-Man. This is
yeah.
the Beyond the Cobwebs of Tomorrow is the name of this one. And who writes this one? Or
Sean Murphy.
Sean
It's
Murphy does both.
The white knight guy, right?
Yeah, for people who don't know, the Batman White Knight series, which he's never actually done. The last one they did ended with like a Superman tease at the end of it, and so they've never actually done the whole thing. So this is the first time he's ever really done a Superman infused storyline that I know of, at least.
But I loved the opening a couple pages of this story where it's Spider-Man 2099. You're running around through the dark cityscape in the future. We come into it in media res, in the middle of some events going on, and we hear this conversation between these two dialogue boxes talking back and forth, and it becomes very clear very quickly in a fun way who these two characters talking to each other are.
And the best part is that, like, it's the future so much that things that are being said are confusing the other, because the other person is older and the other person's younger. And if you guys know where we're going with this, but I love that he's flying weird. He's like, he's not flying, he's swinging. And he's like, probably with a grappling hook. He's like, what's a grappling hook? He's like, for fuck's sakes.
You goddamn kid.
And then there's this great thing where he's like, they don't realize that he's using webs, because they're saying, like, he saved people from an explosion. And he's like, well, why are they hanging from cables, not realizing he's using webs? And what is interesting about this is it's another instance of the worlds are the same. This is more the future of the original crossover storyline, because Alchemax and LuthorCorp or LexCorp still exist in the
coexist,
same universe. Yeah, which is not a normal thing. And there's a Baxter building right next to the Alchemax building as well.
I didn't notice that. Which is odd because they're supposed to be in Gotham.
Maybe they franchised the Baxter building. I don't know what to tell you.
But then a young Superboy shows up, and it's like OG Superboy, like Clark Kent as a teenager in his Superboy suit.
That's funny. I was wondering why originally, because I was like, why would they do a Superboy Spider-Man 29 crossover? That doesn't make any sense until the reveal. I'm like, oh, that actually explains everything. I don't know why I didn't consider that being the reason for that, because I had assumed that maybe they would use like Superman Beyond or something if they were going to do something like this. But instead they it turns out the whole thing is a time travel story. Mm-hmm. Meaning that 2099 isn't even in his own time of this universe's time frame. Which what I found interesting was that somehow the 2099 universe is still just kind of as dark as it was even in this future, which means there's a gap between 2099 and the Legion of Superheroes, like wonderful utopia. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Things get bad, but then eventually they get way better. Uh, but yeah, the Legion is in danger in the 30th century from the merger of LexCorp and Alchemax happening in 2039. So Superboy has come back in time to stop it at the same time that Spider-Man 2099 has also come back in time to because he's like man, like that's gonna make the future suck with Doom in 2099. And then Clark is like, man, in the 32nd century, like, it turns out Lex is immortal and merges with Brainiac, and he's a pain in the ass for the Legion to deal with.
It's really fun. Like, it's a lot of stuff that's really cool setups. And then I love that Super Spider-Man 2099 and Clark fight. And then in the middle of the fight, fucking Miguel slams into an invisible Batmobile.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we have, like, Terry McGinnis, Batman Beyond. You know, clearly he was talking to Bruce, it's so cool that, like, man, Bruce and Terry are so good at protecting Gotham that, like, the minute that Spider-Man shows up in Gotham, like, they're on it. They're like, hey, who's this new player in our city? Like, let's keep our eyes on him. Let's watch what he's doing.
Yeah, and they're like, he hasn't killed anyone, so we're not going to, like, because if he started trying to, like, kill everybody, they would be like, okay, well, we have to stop immediately. They're like, he's clearly up to something, so let's find out.
Yeah.
We're doing detective work. This was my favorite part of the story, which is seeing Miguel O'Hara meet Terry McGinnis. These are two of the two greatest legacy future characters, in my opinion, that aren't like related to the normal timeline.
Yeah, it was the crossover that has always been destined to happen eventually.
It is. There is a fan art of the two of them that has been the wallpaper to my work computer for 4 years. I'm not even fucking with you guys. Like, that's
Nice.
how much I've wanted this forever. Which again is why I was blue balled again by this fucking story.
Yeah, and then they have like this cool team up with like a young Clark Kent Superboy, and they're like, okay, cool, let's go stop Lex, and it's the end of the story.
It just says end. There's no to be continued. There's no like oh my god. It just fucking ends.
I guess they got him. I don't know though.
I was pissed. I was so mad. I'm like, fuck you guys. Why would you do this to me? Why would you show it to me if I can't have it? Was literally like that's that meme.
Give Sean Murphy this miniseries. Just let him go tell this story.
Yes, I would buy this in a heartbeat. I would have every variant of it because I'm sure it would be 2099 fucking Batman Beyond related. It frustrated me immensely. And then came one of my favorite ones of this.
Before we move on though, I just want to say real quick, I like that they point out how odd it is that you can see Terry's teeth through his mask in the Batman Beyond scene.
Oh yeah. It's the way Miguel says it, where he's like, I just want to talk. He's like, I can't. I was like, I'm not talking to you. The way your teeth show through your mask is freaking me out. It's shocking me out. They should have said these should use the term shocking more, unfortunately. But it was so funny.
But yeah, we can move on to Jimmy Con Carnage. Wonderful
Actually,
title.
real quick, there's another thing I want to mention that I thought was interesting, is that Superboy knew who Bruce was.
That is interesting, yeah.
That's very strange to me because like, is he a super like that would make him a Superman because he would know who Bruce is. So I don't understand. Like, that was the only other thing that caught me off guard. I did want to point that out because it doesn't make as much sense because of the one thing.
They shouldn't have met yet from his... Yeah, Bruce should know that's Clark as Superboy, but yeah, Clark as Superboy should not have known that was Bruce working with Terry.
It wouldn't make as much sense.
Good point.
And so then comes one of my favorite things, because the reason this is one of my favorite things, because we have talked about doing this, which is, especially whenever the Jimmy Olsen thing happens, which is that Matt Fraction, Jimmy Olsen story. It's a Jimmy Olsen in the world of Marvel story that is an interesting. It's a very Jimmy Olsen type ass story, but it's a comedy story. So it's one of those ones that you can just be like, this is clearly played for laughs, which is that
Yeah.
he's there. He's somehow transferred out of the Daily Planet into working in for the Daily Bugle. There's a lot of really fucking funny things in the background. For instance, right away, there's instead of the always be closing, it says always be capturing photographs of Spider-Man. There's this huge piece of text that was killing me in the background, which just says, I'm gonna read it for you guys. It says, "For me, your boss, J. Jonah Jameson, editor-in-chief of the newspaper, which is called the Daily Bugle, you useless, embarrassing doinks. Gotta hate you all so much. Why can't you all be like my heroic son who's an astronaut, but also a werewolf on the moon, which is where is always the full moon, and this being an astronaut aboard is a werewolf, and it's probably hard." And I can't read the rest of it because it's like gets smaller and smaller as it goes on, but it's all readable, by the way. Like I would have to take a magnifying glass to some of it.
Also, you have like Peter Parker is in the office just like yawning at Jameson going on this rant about like bring me pictures of Spider-Man or you're all fired.
Yeah, and then the photographer from Marvels, the one that Alex Ross did, the guy who has like only one eye after a while.
Yeah, and he's like passed out or possibly dead. Like I don't know, is he still alive?
I assumed he's like drunk or something because he has 5 o'clock shadow, his shirt's unbuttoned. Like he looks like garbage, but it's clear because it's purely for the gags of the whole thing. And Jimmy Olsen is still wearing his old 1950s Jimmy Olsen outfit, which is Jimmy will never not wear it. I'm very excited about that.
He's got the 1939 little red bow tie.
What's great about this is the name of it, which is Jimmy Kun Carnage. Because this is not a Jimmy Olsen, Peter Parker photographer crossover story. This is Jimmy Olsen making bad decisions.
So, who are the girls with Peter Parker, by the way? He's got 2 ladies with him. A redhead, like, I guess supposed to be Mary Jane, but then, like, a chick with very silvery hair. Like, she looks like...
My guess is it's supposed to be Felicia.
Okay, Felicia Hardy, yeah.
I think the gag is supposed to be that Peter's a ladies' man as fuck in this little timeline here, where he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna go hang out with my bitches. Is basically what he's doing, and he's just telling Jimmy, he's like, you'll be fine, just like remember there's a hyphen in Spider-Man.
Oh, the hyphen thing. Yeah, they keep getting mad at him for not saying the hyphen.
Don't go down dark alleys because what are you doing? And just keep shooting until you find a red guy, and who's a gooey webby. Like MJ's explanation. He's a gooey, webby, reddish, spidery guy. You can't miss him. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you're going to do great. Peter just leaves his ass there with, like, the vaguest instructions.
Yeah, and just wholesome little Jimmy. It's his first day in New York City. Just turned loose on the city to go look for the gooey, webby, red, spidery guy.
Then comes the best misunderstanding I've ever heard, which is that he decides to go down a dark alley this is my favorite part, covered in red bits like a dumbass, because he's like, gooey webby red bits, this has to be the spidery guy. And the way he says Spider-Man, my assumption is the way people say Spider-Man without the hyphen is the way Chandler Bing says Spider-Man in Friends when Monica is doing it too, which is Spiderman. Which is like making him sound like a lawyer. And it turns out Jimmy Olsen has ran into the only other red, spidery type man who's not a clone, and that turns out to be Carnage.
Yeah, so
comes one of my favorite parts of this entire comic, which is this fucking line that Carnage says after he basically honestly. Jimmy puts up a hell of a fight considering he doesn't die immediately. But there's this wonderful line. He's like, because you walked down a blind alley in Manhattan and I didn't hear a hyphen, you tourist. I fucking lost my shit the first time I read it. Because it got me so off guard. And then he tries to call Superman, but apparently Jimmy has a smartwatch now instead of just a normal signal watch. Because it fucking starts updating.
Firmware updating. And then R.I.P. Jimmy Olsen. That is the end of this guy.
Yeah, Jimmy fucking dies at the end of the story. But my favorite part isn't that Jimmy dies. It's that Jameson blames it on Spider-Man.
Oh, he uses the photo. He uses the last photo Jimmy's camera took as he was being killed by Carnage, and then that's
Yeah.
like the front page.
He's like, that's clearly Spider-Man. Like, it's clearly Carnage. And he fucking just like, he's like, Jimmy Olsen was a hero. He was the best in the world because he proved to me that Spider-Man's the worst. And then it cuts to Peter still looking bored. And I can't remember the other photojournalist's name, but he's still there in the same pose. So you might be right. He might actually be dead because he's still just in the background, the exact same pose he was the last time we saw him. And my favorite thing about this is that knowing Jimmy Olsen probably got better after this. Even after being slaughtered by Carnage, he most likely woke up the next day without the same way he always does because he's Jimmy Olsen. That man's unkillable. Jimmy Olsen will outlive the entire DC universe. Mark my words. Then came one of my favorite stories of this.
Yeah, the bridge
crossover. That's so simple that I never occurred to me that you could do a crossover like this. Which is this is a Jeff Lemire story. I love Jeff Lemire. The man's a wonderful,
great writer. Yeah,
wonderful writer. And Rafael Sandoval. He for people, as we mentioned earlier, he draws mostly absolute Superman normally.
But I'll say this about Jeff Lemire, like just the way that like everything Tom King writes about, in some way it's about trauma. Everything Jeff Lemire writes, in some way it's about daddy issues. Yes. Even the story.
His most popular Green Arrow story in the New 52 is one gigantic daddy issue storyline. It really is. To the point where there's even the second part of that thing is a daddy issue. Yeah. And so it's a Ben Parker, Jonathan Kent storyline.
Yeah, the men who raised these heroes having a team up of their own.
And at first you're expecting it to just be these two guys are like just hanging out. Like if there's a storm, it's like it's some sort of tornado, I think, that's happening in Kansas. Yeah, there's a tornado and rain going on. Ben's car has like flooded, I guess, or no, that's the bridge is out, something like that, and he doesn't know what to do, type of thing. He's like, I was just going home. I was driving through. He was probably on like some sort of road trip. He's like, I was driving through Kansas to get to New York where he lives, and the two of them before they leave. This was really cool, which I thought was really fun. Is that Ben, you're expecting Jonathan to be the one to do this, but Ben is the one who hears there's trouble, which is a fun way of being like, look, these two don't have super hearing, but Ben is probably slightly younger than Jonathan.
Yeah.
Awesome. And it's this wonderful story about two normal men saving these kids who are trapped under the bridge because it's the wind is too strong, the rain is too strong. They're scared, and the two of them that shows the reason why the heroes are the heroes they are, because even without powers, their parental figures were still heroes without the use of it. And it's just this wonderful little moment. And Superman and Spider-Man are clearly talking to each other as it goes on, because they're like, yeah, I never really knew my dad. And he's like, I never really knew my actual like biological dad, is what Clark says. And so it's this really fun thing. And I love the art on this. The art is amazing on this. There's only one actual Superman.
The absolute Superman guy on the art.
Yeah, and there's only one specific shot of Spider-Man and Superman here, and I think Spider-Man looks wonderful in the shot. I wouldn't mind seeing more of him drawing these two characters together, because Sandoval has been drawing Superman stuff for a hot minute there. It's nice seeing these artists do a character they're not normally doing.
He does a great Spider-Man. Yeah, I love like the pose and then like the perspective of the web.
Yeah, the only reason you can tell they might have some issues with it is that the webbing is just like white lines, and even then, that's like you can forgive that because the webbing always varies on like detail depending on who's drawing it.
Yeah,
Like
like
Todd McFarlane is the reason people expect detailed webs because he's the one
right,
who
right.
made that like fucking wraparound thing that everybody knows nowadays.
Like go look at like old school John Romita Senior web, and it's just it's just like
Yeah,
this. It's just like white lines.
it's a line and some other tiny lines on it to make it look like there's something different about it, and it's very fun. This other one I thought was okay.
Yeah,
This other
bias.
storyline.
Greg
Yeah.
Rucka, Nicola Scott.
Because Greg Rucka is a wonderful, wonderful writer. This is another instance of this feels like it's part of a larger story that we never really get to see. Because what's weird about this is that Spider-Man's just there.
Hey, I like that they have Jack Ryder, the what do you call him?
I almost said the strange. That's not the trickster either. Goddamn brain. Why brain not working? It's something like
The
that.
Creeper, the Creeper.
Yeah.
But he's
But
a
he's-
Steve Ditko creation like Spider-Man. So
Is he really? I didn't realize
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But yeah, for a lot of people who don't know, Jack Ryder is a Gotham reporter, and he's been used outside of being the Creeper thousands of times. So this story is about Lois and Jameson having an argument about their biases on their papers, which is that Lois is upset that Jameson is using the paper, the Daily Bugle, to just be like Spider-Man sucks. Like there's nothing objective about that. You're clearly having a bias with Spider-Man and just calling him a criminal for no reason. And then Jameson pounces back, being like, "You guys love Superman so much, you're up his ass," type of thing. Like you guys need you have just as much biases, if not more, than I do. And I thought that was really fun. And I don't know why Spider-Man's just hanging out there. That's because there's no reason for it to not just be Peter and Clark watching this. You know what I mean? Like why? Like I feel like Jameson would have let Peter in or something, but instead he's just hanging above them without anybody noticing him other than Clark. But I like this. I like the story for what it is because it's Jameson explaining, look, I'm doing this because I'm trying to hold him accountable for being Spider-Man, and because he's like, I don't hate superheroes. In fact I love superheroes. And he has this great little montage of he's like, I'm always grateful for the people that we know because we know who they are. The Fantastic Four. We know who the Fantastic Four are. We know it's Reed Richards, Johnny Storm, Susan Storm, and Ben Grimm. Like we know who they are. Wonder Woman, she doesn't have a mask. We always know Wonder Woman type of thing. When we always know it's Wonder Woman sort of thing, and we can hold her accountable wherever she goes. Captain America, at this point, everybody knows who Captain America is. And same with Superman. None of them hide their face, in his opinion, because even though Cap has a mask, you can still see his eyes and you can still see his mouth, that sort of thing.
And his identity is public knowledge now that he's Steve Rogers.
Yeah, at this point, it's very post-war. Everybody knows who Captain America is, and then he's like, I just don't like the fact that Spider-Man has a mask and we can't hold him accountable. And Lois is like, well, there's a reason they have a mask. He's like, I've heard all the bullshit. I just think I just don't like the fact that that he's hiding. He's always hiding things. He's like, and I like the fact that he's like, I also don't like Batman, which is a Jerry Jameson thought process to have. If you don't like Spider-Man, you definitely won't like Batman.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
But yeah, it just felt like, okay, this was a conversation that I feel like the comics really exhausted way back during things like Marvel Civil War or like DC Identity Crisis. It's like I've heard this like a superhero debate about secret identities like 20 years ago.
Yeah. It's just like the fact that it's like through the lens of Lois and Jameson, and the fact that Jameson calls out the Daily Planet, being like, look, anytime you save somebody out of a tree, you're just like all over that motherfucker. And it's like, okay, biases. You guys, everybody has their biases. It's just that Jameson's are a little more extreme than, because the Daily Planet has ran like Superman being a dick type storylines, or type of stories, not storylines. It makes it sound like it's fiction on their end. and it's just an okay comic. It's like fine. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Essentially, you're essentially watching this one story or this one program of these two people talking. I thought that was okay.
You want to talk about this final story from Gail Simone that
This
I
was
thought
actually
was really good?
favorite my favorite backstory in here,
Yeah.
which is outside of the Jimmy Olsen one. But that's because this one feels like an entire story, whereas the Jimmy Olsen one, I feel like we're missing some stuff. Because even with the Jimmy Olsen one, you don't see him like leave the planet and then go to the Bugle. This is like Frank. There's Frank's explaining every reason why he's there. Frank is outside of a like essentially the best way of putting it is a villain night, a villain club is
It's like
basically the best way of putting it.
we have a lot of these in Austin, but like these like secret bars that no one's supposed to know about. That's in like some like parking garage that you have to dial some like secret code into like a little number keypad to unlock the door, and so then like you
Yeah.
go into like this like secret speakeasy or something. Like I don't know, I'm not cool enough to have ever gone to one of those, but I've heard about them.
I've heard about tons of them, but I don't drink. So, and because I could probably go to some because I know people who do, but I'm like, I don't drink, so I have zero fucking reason to be there. And so, and what happens is that he's there. He's there to punish some people because he's the Punisher, but he's undercover because he somehow got hired as the doorman, essentially.
Yeah.
And as he's there, a beautiful blonde woman comes over who's on a blind date, who's revealed through text boxes that she is Power Girl. She's like, I've fought supervillains, I fought Darkseid. Why the fuck am I nervous? Type of thing. I love that Frank sees her and immediately goes, Jesus fucking Christ. He straight up says, Lord have mercy. He sees those power gals and immediately is just like, wowzers. And she's so nice to him right away. She's like, I'm gonna give you. It's like it's raining. You don't have an umbrella because Frank is just wearing his trench coat. He's wearing like the modern, famous version of Frank Castle's outfit, which is kind of the way Thomas Jane's Punisher dresses, which is a leather jacket, Punisher shirt, jeans and boots type of thing. That's a very modern.
But way uglier than Thomas Jane. Like I really liked the art here, and the colors are great. The colors add a lot of atmosphere.
Yeah, it's a wonderful story so far, and then comes the reveal that made me fucking be like, sure. Which is that her blind date is Paul Rabin, and he is from an alternate dimension, of course, because he actually is from an alternate dimension in general, even in normal continuity. And so he's
explain this dude, because I don't know much about him.
So Paul Rabin is from the Zeb Wells run. There was a storyline way long ago that Zeb Wells did about some winter god dude or some sort of thing like that. Spider-Man defeated him. The guy wanted revenge because he defeated the guy who was like his emissary or some guy named something Rabin. And it turns out in an alternate reality, this god did take over with the help of this guy, and that guy had a son named Paul, who accidentally like helped him essentially destroy this dimension. Spider-Man and MJ are transported there, yada yada yada. Because there's a lot of insane shit that happens. Paul is then transported to the normal universe, where he's with MJ for a bit because they have these two kids. Turns out the kids were were these fake energy kids or some shit, so they disappeared when Spider-Man defeated the god. And then Paul is now single because Mary Jane broke up with him in Venom. Because she's like, honestly, she basically was like, we were kind of just together because of those two kids. There's no real reason at this point, so she breaks up with him. So I guess that's the implication of what's going on. Hilariously enough, I think Paul's going to die soon, so this makes this even funnier. And I don't even mean the storyline. I mean in Marvel continuity. And so what happens is that they use the version of Paul that's currently being drawn, because when Paul first showed up, he had short hair, but now Paul has a big old man bun.
Yeah, they talk about his ponytail a lot and how lame of a guy he is.
Yeah, because Paul's the fucking worst, and she really like emphasizes how much he sucks. And he even mentions like, quantum reality bending is the rideshare of the future. Like he's very much like the version of Paul that, except even lamer somehow. And so
It's-
Power Girls like hates this already, and Frank is just like, oh, that poor woman. But he's like, I'm here to punish these fucking villains, but these two are clearly innocent, is what he realizes very quickly. And so to try to get them, he expects them to run. So he comes in, fires his guns, expects everybody to be scared, and to try to get the innocents out. And then I do like that there's a thing called face space.
Gail Simone has brought that up before. Like an old ass Birds of Prey comic from like 20 years ago. I remember her talking about Face Space as a social media site.
Which is great. I love that. It's a fun way of
Yeah.
doing it. And so Frank tries to get them to run. He's like, I'm not a criminal. I'm just some fucking dude. He's like, I know, you stupid asshole. I'm gonna need you to get the fuck out of here. Power Girl shows up, stops Punisher from because she thinks he's there to kill Paul, but he's like, no, turn around to all of the people directly behind you who've been there the whole time, which is what cracks me the fuck up. Which is Firefly in a suit, Gentleman Ghost, the Chameleon, Taskmaster in a suit, Catman in a suit, and I can't tell who the pink-haired lady is. Do you
Oh, I'm not sure.
happen to know who that? I'm not 100% certain. I had a few guesses, but I'm pretty sure they're wrong. But they're all assassins who think Paul is Vandal Savage because of the fact that Vandal Savage tends to rock that ponytail man bun look in a lot of continuities. I think in recent stuff too, he's been wearing that. And in fact, he actually has in Absolute Superman, he actually has a haircut that's just like Paul's, which makes it that much fucking funnier. And what I think is fun is that Power Girl's like, look, we're not going to kill anybody because we don't have to. I'm fucking Power Girl. Like, first of all. And two, like, I know who you are. You're the Punisher. Let's just beat up these guys. And so it's this wonderful shot, this wonderful moment of them. She's like, I thought I was going to be bored. And instead, she just beats the ever living shit out of everybody. And
Yeah,
then,
she has a good time.
She has a
a
great
good time with Frank.
And what I love about the ending is that like Frank is just like, she says that Paul left. Says he turns out he prefers redheads, which is really funny. Because in Power Girl, her roommate's a redhead, so I think that's part of the joke. And so
Yeah, her friend who told her to go out on a date, right?
yeah, and so she decides that she basically does a quick date with Frank, and she calls him out, which is really fucking funny. When he's just like, what makes you do all the dumb bullshit that you're doing? He's like, well, I lost my family. He's like, well, fuck you. I lost my fucking planet. You don't see me fucking going around murdering people, you dumb idiot. And then he's just like laughing about the fact that like she makes a joke like, you don't see me putting a skull on my chest, and he says that would be a crime because you would be covering the Power Girl outfit. And then she clearly goes and fucks Frank.
Yeah, they go to a quiet little place she knows in Mongolia. So,
and I love this, and I love that the War Journal was going on, by the way, which means that the Punisher wrote about this the whole time, which he just puts. I won't lie, she makes a good pitch, and that's the final story. That was my favorite of the backstories of them all, and because it has a beginning, middle, and an end. Because even the end is the ending that comics would give that storyline. They're not going to cut to them fucking type of thing.
yeah. You leave it up to the imagination at that point.
Exactly.
That's a perfect final page.
That's how that story would end, no matter what. Like, and that's what makes it my favorite one, because Gail was the only one who knew that she was only going to get X amount of pages and didn't set up something that would blue ball.
Yeah. She put in the actual effort to tell a satisfying conclusion to her story. So,
and it was the best. It borderline makes me want to buy the variant for that, where it's the two of them. because it's the best of the
You
backstories.
know,
But
that's
you
not a
know,
story I was expecting to be that invested in either, because that's kind of those are kind of like the weird black sheep of the Superman family or the Spider-Man family. Like you wouldn't necessarily think of Punisher as a Spider-Man character, but he did actually debut in The Amazing Spider-Man back in the 70s, and
that's what makes it so fun. It's like I remember when they announced it, I was like, I guess why would like there's no way this is gonna work. And then I read it, I'm like, oh, it's Gail Simone. There's no way this isn't gonna work. And
but yeah,
I read it, and I was like, this is wonderful.
I feel like it was like Gail Simone being asked like, "Hey, we really we should get a lady writer on this Spider-Man Superman crossover. Are there any Spider-Man and Superman characters you'd want to have in a story?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, I want Power Girl to go on a date with the Punisher."
I love her because she finds she sees something and she takes her chance
Yeah,
at it. And
yeah, that was good.
I loved it. It was wonderful. It was exactly what I wanted from it. It's the type of storyline that the other Batman Deadpool stuff was getting, was like heroes that that aren't necessarily tied to each other fully, like Green Arrow and Daredevil, for instance, for the other one. Um, so I'm curious to see what the next set is, because we only know some of the writers, but we don't know the intricacies of what's going on, because there's so many crossover covers that they don't have the same hints the other one did. There's one hint, I think, on some of them, which is that, but even then, I don't think it is, because the cover for some of them are different. Because there's a Doomsday versus Venom cover on it that I saw that was a variant for the next stuff, but I don't expect Doomsday to fight Venom. I'm thinking, but who knows? Who the fuck knows with some of these things? And they're still announcing variants even now for some of these things. I think I mentioned to you last time the variant they announced, Static Shock. It's going to be an all black superheroes
Right,
variant.
right.
Static
Yeah,
Shock, Miles Morales, Steel, and who was the other? I can't even remember who the other one was off the top of my head. But it's all wonderful. Like I'm very happy. Oh, Spider Punk. That's what it was. It was Spider Punk. I knew it was somebody's, because I knew it had to be somebody else Spider-Man related. And yeah, and that Ed McGuinness cover, I found out it's a real cover, by the way, so it's not like a fake thing, and it's wonderful looking too. It's Superman flying and Spider-Man swinging under him, because Ed McGuinness is very good at what he does. If I had an easy way of getting it, I would be tempted to get that as my cover. My problem is I don't like the covers for the Spider-Man Superman one as much as I like the ones for this one. There's so many really good covers for the Superman Spider-Man one. But yeah. That was the end of this crossover, which I thought was really fun.
I'm looking at some of the artists who are going to be doing covers for the Spider-Man slash Superman coming out in April, and Gary Frank, another one of my favorite Superman artists.
That one is a really cool cover. If you haven't seen it, guys, you look it up. It's got like Mysterio on it.
Humberto Ramos, Frank Miller, Scotty Young. So there's some.
I saw one
variant
ones that I don't know who drew it, but it's Spider Armor Spider-Man fighting a Lex Luthor in a power armor, and it was pretty cool looking. I saw it on Instagram. I don't know if it was somebody drawing. I think it did say it was a cover, so but I forgot to see who was drawing it. It was really cool.
And I guess the main story in the next one is going to be written by Brad Meltzer, so it could go either way. It could be great. It could be really weird and not something I like.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice, because I think from what I hear, he's normally like a novel writer. This is what I've been told, because I don't know a lot about the guy. But there's a lot of cool backup story potential for that one as well. Unfortunately, we do have Bendis in the middle of that, but Bendis, depending on what he's doing, depends on, like, if since he's doing a backup story, that's why I'm not as worried. Like, if he was the main writer for the crossover, I would be like, I don't need Bendis doing a Spider-Man Superman crossover as the main guy.
Yeah,
that wouldn't work for me.
I'm really curious what Jeff Johns is gonna do. I'm really curious what Joe Kelly is gonna do.
Yeah, 100%, and I'm really excited. I know that's April 22nd, I think, something like that. It's like mid-April as well.
That sounds right. April 20th is a Wednesday, so yeah, it's probably either the 20th or the 27th.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm very excited. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see it. Again, I'm having a hard time figuring out which cover I'm gonna get because currently my plan, I think I did mention to everybody, is I'm going to buy both of them, of course, but I'm going to hang them in my office with the original crossover. And so because I like the idea of having them all together. I'm only bummed that the Superman Spider-Man one had the Superman versus Amazing Spider-Man homage cover, and the other one won't, because it would have been fun to have if it both of them were that way. But yeah.
Oh, sorry, I might have just my dates mixed up, but it's April 22nd is
All
a
right, I was
Wednesday.
right
That
then.
is when it's coming out. Yeah, I was looking at May instead of April. My bad.
Oh, okay,
So,
great. Yeah, okay, great. So yeah, I'm very that. So we'll probably try talking about that the week after, then, depending on what's going on at that point,
yeah,
because we'll be
but
getting closer to the Supergirl by then.
right, which we're getting a new Supergirl trailer tomorrow, so we'll be talking about that next.
Yeah, we're all very excited, guys. We're all God. Have you seen the teaser that they shown so far?
I saw
One that
the
I sent you.
the thing that you sent me this morning, yeah, from the announcement.
I
So
really liked it because it already proved to us that that was the cameo I was expecting to show up.
yeah,
But in a way that makes perfect sense. So, yeah.
and hoping we get some more Lobo. So,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
but yeah, we'll be talking about that next, and of course some more Supergirl to go along with that. We eventually will cover the 1984 movie in preparation for the new movie, and we'll have some more Spider-Man, Superman crossover talk in about a month. So the
Yeah,
Wall Crawler will return as well.
yeah. He will return in Superman Doomsday or whatever.
Yeah, so this is the moment at the end credits where it's like Spider-Man Peter Parker will return. So the Supermaniacs are not done with him yet. But some more big Supergirl talk coming up next. So thanks everyone who was able to watch or listen to us live, and thank you if you're watching or listening to us later. We'll go ahead and sign off for now, but until next time, as always, keep it super, y'all.